And welcome back. Here's your latest Texas housing market update. In today's video, I'm actually going to share what's happening right now in Dallas, Texas, as well as Houston as well. I'm going to share the number of price reductions, home sales, home prices, housing inventory, and of course, much more in today's video, so you guys can be more informed about the Dallas and Houston housing markets. And this is based on data from Redfin, by the way. Let's first talk about Dallas, then I'll share the latest updates in Houston, Texas. So in Dallas, new listings are down 1.2% compared to 2022 at this time. So more or less on par with 2022's numbers, which is actually much different compared to the last half of 2022 compared to the previous year, as well as the first half this year, the first couple weeks this year. So on January 1st, we actually had a 12.4% decrease of new listings in Dallas, Texas, compared to the same time period in 2022. And then it was a 12.3% decrease, and now it's very much on par with 2022's levels, approximately 987 new listings for the 4 weeks ended January 22nd this year. And again, this is so much different compared to the past few months, because back in 2022, the difference in new listings compared to the same time period in 2021 were actually by double digits, all the way until he hit right here. The 4 weeks ended November 6th in 2022 only saw a 5.5% decrease of new listings. So what this is telling me is that more people are deciding to list their homes for sale in Dallas, Texas, at least compared to the past few years, and more or less on par with 2022's levels, but still below 2020 as well as 2021. And by the way, the red line here is 2020, orange line is 2021, the black line is for 2022. And this blue line right here is for 2023. So new listings more or less on par with last year. Let's have a look at pending home sales though. So look at this. Pending home sales are down 13.3%. But again, getting more narrow compared to 2022, because at the start of this year, we were down 24.1%. So the difference between new listings as well as new pending home sales has been narrowing compared to 2022. But again, just like new listings, pendings are down compared to 2020 as well as 2021. Let's also have a look at housing inventory in Dallas, Texas, which is this right here. Housing inventory up a whopping 90.56%. So we have nearly twice as many houses for sale in Dallas, Texas right now compared to the same time frame 1 year ago. 90.56%, pretty wild. Approximately 12,381 houses for sale in Dallas, Texas. In 2022 at this time, there was only 6,500. 6,500 1 year ago. Now it has increased to 12,381. Also above 2021's levels, but still below 2020 though. So I'm guessing because the number of contracts being signed between buyers and sellers, or pendings, has been decreasing, and also we're seeing this huge increase of housing supply, I'm guessing the share of price drops has been increasing as well. So for Dallas, the share of price drops is at 46%. So approximately 5 of every 10 houses listed for sale right now in Dallas, Texas have already reduced their asking prices at 46%. And by the way, just to give you guys some comparisons here, the statewide average, according to altosresearch.com, for the share of price drops is at 38%. But in Dallas, it's at approximately 46%. Also on a national level, for the share of price drops, the share is at 35%. More or less on par with the 38% statewide in Texas. So let's go back to Dallas here though. In Dallas, again, the share right now is at 46%, as you see right there. 46% has been more or less decreasing ever since late September last year, but not by a whole lot. 46%, this is also much higher compared to 1 year ago when the share was approximately 28%. 2 years ago, the share was approximately 39%, and 3 years ago, the share was approximately 42%. So the share right now at approximately 46% is very close to pre-COVID levels back in early 2020. All right, changing gears slightly here, let's talk about home prices in the Dallas housing market. Again, according to Redfin here. The median sold price in Dallas right now is at $399,000, only a 4% increase compared to the same time frame 12 months ago. $399,000. When you compare this to the peak we saw back in 2022, which is more or less May of 2022, the median sold price was $467,000. In other words, compared to May of last year, home prices in Dallas, Texas have decreased approximately 15%. This is actually a little bit worse compared to the national average, a decrease of 10% ever since May and June of last year, whereas Dallas has decreased by about 15%. Also, something I just noticed regarding the median sold price in Dallas, Texas, the 4% increase on a year-over-year basis is actually the lowest year-over-year increase going back to the end of July of 2020. To be exact, for the 4 weeks ended July 12th of 2020, at that time, home prices increased approximately 4% as well. So in other words, the year-over-year change right now, a gain of 4%, is the lowest gain in Dallas, Texas, going back to more or less July of 2020. One more thing I do want to mention regarding home prices right now is if you guys are a home buyer looking to buy a house in Dallas, obviously it's encouraging to see that home prices have decreased about 15% ever since the highs that we saw back in May of 2020. We obviously want home prices to decrease if you're a home buyer, right? But when looking at home prices compared to pre-COVID levels back in the early parts of 2020 though, look at this. The median sold price right now at $399,000. Going back to 2020 at this time, home prices were at $283,000. In other words, over the span of approximately 3 years, the median sold price in Dallas, Texas has increased approximately $116,000. Let's also have a look at how fast or how slow houses are selling in Dallas. So right now, the median days in the market is approximately 50 days. This means it's taking approximately 28 days longer to sell a house in Dallas, Texas compared to 12 months ago. 28 days longer. 49.5 is the exact days in the market, approximately 50 days. Going back to 2022, days in the market was only 21 days. Let's also have a look at the average sale price to final list price ratio in Dallas, which is more or less going straight down ever since the spring and summer months last year. So the average sale price to list price ratio is approximately 97%, meaning home sellers selling their houses for approximately 3% below their final asking price. More or less on par with 2020, but much lower compared to 2022, when home sellers were selling their houses for about 2% over. Now they're selling for approximately 3% below. And obviously the current levels we have right now is so much different compared to the spring months of 2022. When our housing market was in full swing, because in Dallas, during that time frame, home sellers were selling their houses for approximately 6% over asking. Okay, changing gears slightly here, let's talk about what's happening in the Houston housing market. So new listings are down 16.7% compared to the same time frame 12 months ago. There's approximately 1,580 new listings that hit the market during that time frame. Back in 2022 at this time, there's approximately 1,900. So a decrease of 16.7%, which is actually worse compared to the first part of this year, or I should say the first week this year, when new listings decreased by about 14.3%. So new listings have been increasing, but not at the same rate we saw back in 2022, at least not just yet. Let's have a look at pendings though, and that is right here. Pending home sales in Houston, Texas are down 37.3% compared to the same time frame 12 months ago. This is actually worse compared to the past few weeks of this year. To start this year, we were only down 30.5%. Now we're down 37.3%. Just really quickly, I want to see 2022. Yeah, 2022, we also saw decreases in the range of approximately 30% starting in October, and ending the year down about 30% as well. So the decrease is actually worse than the last 2 months of 2022. A decrease of contracts being signed between buyers and sellers, down 37%. Let's also have a look at the share of price drops in Houston, Texas, because that right now is at 41%. which is more or less on par with what we saw back in the end of July of 2022, when the share was also approximately 42%. So at 41% right now, this is still much higher compared to a year ago at 31%, 2 years ago when the share was about 34%, and pre-COVID back in 2020, the share was approximately 37%. So the share right now at approximately 41% is at least a 3-year high during that same time frame. Let's also have a look at home prices in Houston, Texas as well, which is right here. So the median sold price in Houston, Texas is at $317,000. That's an increase of only 2% compared to 12 months ago. Also, compared to the highs that we saw back in more or less May of last year, the median sold price was up by 17% when home prices were at $353,000. And by my math, that's a decrease of 10% ever since May of last year in Houston, Texas, which is more or less in line with the national averages, by the way. Right now at 2% gain though, this is much lower compared to the gains we saw back in 2022, where we saw gains in the range of 5% all the way up until approximately 17% in the spring months of 2022. Also, in regards to home prices right now, up by about 2% compared to 12 months ago. This hasn't been this low on a year-over-year basis going back to June of 2020, when at that time, home prices increased by only 1%, whereas right now, we're up by 2% compared to the same time frame in 2022. But again, just like in Dallas, Texas, when comparing home prices in Houston compared to pre-COVID levels, even though home prices have decreased about 10% since last May or June, they're still up big time compared to 2020. So right now, the median sold price in Houston, Texas is at $317,000. Pre-COVID at this time, the median sold price was at $235,000, or an increase of 32% in the median sold price in Houston, Texas, compared to 3 years ago. Let's also have a look at how fast or how slow houses are selling in Houston, Texas. So days in the market is approximately 45 days right now. This means it's taking approximately 25 days longer to sell a house in Houston, Texas compared to 2022. At 45 days right now, in 2022, days in the market was only 20 days. Now it's taking approximately 45 days to sell a house. Let's also have a look at the average sale price to final list price ratio in Houston, more or less on par with 2020 at approximately 97%. Houses selling for approximately 3% below asking, which is much different compared to 2022 when houses selling for about 1% below. Also interesting enough here, the ratio here never really surpassed 101%. Back in the spring months of 2022, houses on average were selling for about 1% over asking, and now again selling for about approximately 3% below asking. This is much different compared to Dallas though, because remember in Dallas, that ratio there really peaked at approximately 6% over asking. Now in Houston, Texas, only increasing by about 1% over in the spring months of 2022. But with that said, please comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you guys got any value in this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I could appreciate that. Of course, I appreciate you. Hope you guys have an awesome day and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.